let me be real with you for a second. When was the last time you watched somebody just keep winning, keep stacking, keep breaking things that were never supposed to be broken, and you had to stop what you were doing just to process what you were seeing? That is what Bad Bunny has been doing, and if you have not been paying attention, then you have been sleeping on one of the most dominant runs in the entire history of music. Not Latin music, not reggaeton, music, full stop. We're talking about a kid from Vega Baja, Puerto Rico, who went from bagging groceries at a supermarket to turning the entire global music industry upside down. And he keeps doing it over and over again, like the records mean nothing to him. Like he wakes up every morning just to humble people who thought they already understood what was possible. The numbers do not lie, the culture does not lie, and right now, Bad Bunny is moving different from everybody else on the planet, and the story of how he got here is wilder than most people realize. Welcome to Pop Showroom, where we bring you the stories behind the headlines. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now because this story goes deeper than anything you've seen in the mainstream media. Let us talk about what is actually happening with the streaming numbers, because this is where people start to lose their minds a little bit. Reggaeton, as a genre, has hit a level of dominance on the streaming platforms that is genuinely difficult to wrap your head around. When Spotify, Apple Music, and every other platform started publishing their all-time charts, people expected the usual names to dominate. People expected the English language artists who had been collecting billions of streams for years to hold those top spots forever. And for a while, that is exactly what happened. The lists were predictable, the names were familiar. Then slowly, without most of the mainstream English-speaking world even noticing, something started shifting. Latin music, specifically the wave coming out of Puerto Rico, Colombia, and the broader Caribbean, started creeping into spaces where it had never been before, and Bad Bunny was at the front of that wave every single time. Now here is where it gets really interesting. The Voy a Tirar Más Fotos just cracked the top 40 all-time albums on Spotify. Read that back slowly. Top 40, all time. We are not talking about most streamed Latin albums. We are not talking about a regional chart or a genre-specific list. We are talking about sitting alongside the biggest albums in the history of the platform, competing with English-language projects that had years of a head start, competing with artists whose names your parents and grandparents know, and winning. That is not a small thing. That is a seismic moment for what Latin music means globally, and the fact that it happened so quietly, without a massive mainstream news cycle or a dramatic announcement, makes it even more remarkable. The culture moved while other people were looking somewhere else. But you have to understand what Voy a Tirar Más Fotos actually is to really feel the weight of this achievement. Bad Bunny did not make a commercial album designed to chase streams. He made something personal, something rooted deeply in Puerto Rican identity and nostalgia, an album that sounds like sitting on a porch in San Juan on a warm night, like old photographs you find in a box you forgot you had, like the kind of memories that hit you in the chest when you least expect it. The album was a love letter to his island. It was political without being preachy, it was emotional without being soft, and it was musically adventurous in ways that took even his most loyal fans by surprise. He brought in sounds that reggaeton purists were not expecting, pulled from older Puerto Rican traditions, from bomba, from plena, from the kind of music that existed before the genre he helped popularize even had a name, and audiences around the world ate it up. Billions of streams, top 40 all time, and every single one of those plays represents a person somewhere on this planet choosing to feel something real. Now, let's talk about the comparison that keeps coming up in these conversations, because it matters, and it tells you a lot about where we are historically. Lady Gaga built her streaming numbers in a completely different era. When the fame dropped, when Born This Way was everywhere, streaming was still finding its feet. The infrastructure was different. The culture around how people consumed music was different. Playlist culture was not what it is today. The algorithm was not the beast it has become. People were still buying digital downloads, still burning CDs, still figuring out whether Spotify was a fad or the future. Gaga was racking up massive numbers in a landscape that looks almost nothing like the one we are operating in right now. That is not a knock on her legacy is untouchable, but context is everything, and the context in which Bad Bunny is breaking records is arguably more competitive, more saturated, and more difficult to navigate than anything that came before. The market is bigger, the competition is fiercer, and the attention span of the average listener has never been shorter, and he is still making it to the top of the mountain every time. What makes this whole story even wilder is that Bad Bunny does this on his own terms every single time. He doesn't do features just to get on the English charts. He doesn't change his language or his accent or his subject matter to make American radio executives more comfortable. He raps and sings in Spanish. He reps Puerto Rico loudly and without apology, and he does it all with this energy that feels completely unbothered by whether or not the mainstream is ready for him. He decided a long time ago that he was not going to come to the mainstream. The mainstream was going to come to him, and that's exactly what happened. Young people in Poland, in Japan, in Nigeria, and Brazil are listening to Bad Bunny not because they were told to by some corporate marketing machine, but because something in the music reaches past language and past culture and touches something human that everybody shares. That is the rarest kind of power an artist can have. And the records just keep falling. Best-selling Latin artist in history, Spotify's most streamed artist globally, not just in Latin categories, but globally, 3 years running at one point, sold-out stadium tours across continents, a cultural footprint that extends into fashion, into sports, into film, into the way younger generations talk about what it means to be proud of where you come from without making yourself smaller for anyone. Every time you think he has hit the ceiling, he finds a way to blow through it and keep climbing, and the people who doubted him at every stage of his career are left trying to explain themselves while he's already 3 moves ahead. The streaming dominance of reggaeton is not an accident, and it's not a fluke. It is the result of decades of work by artists, producers, and communities who kept the music alive even when the industry didn't want to acknowledge it, even when mainstream radio acted like songs in Spanish were somehow worth less than songs in English. The pioneers of the genre laid a foundation that nobody gave them credit for at the time, and now a generation of artists has built something extraordinary on top of that foundation. Bad Bunny stands at the top of that tower right now, but he carries all of that history with him, and the respect he shows to the people who came before him is part of why his own story hits the way it does. Here is what nobody talks about enough, though: the longevity. In an era where artists blow up overnight and disappear just as fast, where one bad album can end a career, where the internet chews through stars like they are disposable, Bad Bunny has maintained his momentum across multiple years and multiple albums, each one different from the last, each one taking risks that most artists would be too scared to take. He has never given the audience exactly what they expected. He keeps evolving, keeps pushing into new territory, keeps making the kind of music that forces critics and fans alike to rethink what they thought they knew about him. That is not easy. That takes a level of artistic confidence and creative courage that very few people in any industry ever manage to sustain. So when you see that Una Debe Tirar Más Fotos is sitting in the top 40 all-time albums on Spotify, know that you are looking at the result of a longer story than most people realize. You are looking at a genre that fought for its place in the conversation for decades. You are looking at an island that has produced some of the most important music of the last 30 years, while the world treated it like an afterthought. You are looking at a man who decided early that authenticity was going to be his weapon, who never flinched, who never compromised, and who kept delivering until the numbers made it impossible for anyone to look away anymore. The streaming era has changed music in ways that are still unfolding, but one thing it has made undeniable is that great music does not need a gatekeeper's permission to reach the world. Bad Bunny proved that. Latin music proved that. And the top 40 all-time list on Spotify is just the latest piece of evidence in a case that was never really in doubt for the people who were paying attention from the beginning. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.